What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we're back with the finals of the recent League Cup that we got to go attend. We also did upload the top 4 match as well, so if you guys want to check that out, I'll be sure to put a link somewhere, maybe on the video or in the description for you guys to take a look at that. So for this match, we have Ryan Allred returning from the top 4 match. Over there on the left, he's going to be playing Mega Mewtwo with Fairy Drop. And then on the right, we have Carl Satavi. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Sorry, Carl, if I do mess it up. But he's going to be playing Vespiquen, Zebstrika, Vaporeon, Zoroark, Mew. So a ton of stuff in his deck. So yeah, Ryan's deck is kind of interesting because he's playing Mega Mewtwo, but he's opted to cut things like Shrine of Memories and all that in favor of the Fairy Drop and Fairy Energies, just to allow Mewtwo to tank hits a little bit easier. And then Carl, Vespiquen Zebstrika has been a deck, and it's one we've actually covered here on the channel too. But his is a little bit different. He's not playing Garbodor like most of the list do. Like I said, he's cut that out in favor of some other interesting techs. He's playing the Vaporeon line, I'm assuming just to deal with Volcanion EX and Baby Volcanion, since it can easily knock out Vespiquens, if I just had to guess. So yeah, definitely an interesting matchup here. There's a lot of factors here at play too, because, well, first let's see who's starting. Okay, so I think Ryan's starting, and one of the big factors for him is going to be that Garbodor in his hand. Garbodor is going to be actually, I think, a huge card in this matchup, because if you see over on the right, Carl has a Klefki on his bench, and if you guys aren't too familiar with Klefki, it has this ability Wonderlock. It lets you attach it to one of your other Pokemon as a tool card, and then that Pokemon on your opponent's next turn can't be damaged by Megas. So definitely very relevant, since Mega Mewtwo is Ryan's only attacker in this deck. So if Ryan can manage to get a Garbodor set up in time, he will be able to get around these Klefkis. But if Garbodor doesn't come out in time, Carl can kind of safely attack all these Mewtwo's and Pokemon with Klefkis attached to it. Okay, so here Ryan's actually having a pretty good start. He has Trubbish with a Float Stone, so that definitely looks good already. He really needs to get a Mewtwo down on the board, though. That's going to be his next priority. So probably Mewtwo and an attachment as well. And he also played Silent Lab down, which can be big because Silent Lab is a stadium card, shuts off all basic Pokemon's abilities. So Carl is very, very reliant on basic abilities like this Unknown that's in the active spot, that Klefki we just mentioned, Shaman EX as well. So if he doesn't find his own stadium to bump it, he's going to be in a little bit of a tight spot, I think. So here, Ryan unfortunately did not get much of anything to work with, but luckily that Silent Lab is going to slow down Carl a little bit. So he's going to Ultra Ball a Sycamore and Enaway, probably grab himself a... He could go for Blitzel to try to get a knockout on Shaman. Going for a Combi is probably a little bit of a safer option. And he's actually eyeing down a Shaman EX. Okay, so I'm not sure if he's forgotten that Silent Lab was out, or maybe he is planning on discarding it with a Sycamore or something like that. So let's see what he has. And okay, he's actually just opting to attach DCE and to actually plan on attacking with it. So that's interesting. It's actually kind of a cool play because he had DC in hand, and this way he doesn't have to discard it with Sycamore. He can attach it to Shaman and Sky Return to put it back in his hand for the following turn. So he's going to Ultra Ball, getting rid of another Klefki and an Eevee. Again, I'm probably guessing a Combi here. Maybe a Blitzel. I'm not sure what's in Carl's hand. So he's going for the Blitzel. Blitzel will be able to get an easy knockout on this Shaman EX on the following turn if Carl is able to draw into Zebstrika as well. So for you guys who are unaware, Zebstrika is kind of like not a very popular Pokemon, but it's very good against things with fighting resistance like Shaman. It does 60 plus 50 more if they are resistant to fighting, and most fighting resistant Pokemon are weak to lightning, so Zebstrika will take a knockout if Carl is able to set one up. But okay, yeah, Ryan's hand's still not doing too much there, but luckily he has Garbodor out and he has an N. So again, he really just needs to get a Mega Mewtwo on the board and some energy. That's really just the next step here. And the good thing about having Garbodor out as well is that I know Carl actually plays a Mew EX in his deck as well. So if he has a way to shut off Mew, then he's definitely in a good spot because Mew can hit Mewtwo's for weakness and maybe take some easy prizes. So it's a good thing he has Garbodor out. And still nothing really to work with here. Definitely unfortunate. So he's going to attach a Fairy Energy to his Shaman and just pass. So he's got to feel a little frustrated about all this. So your Carl's going to Ultra Ball. Probably discard a couple things with abilities. He does have that Mew EX in hand, so it is something he is probably very conscious of that he wants to get down at some point if he can manage to knock out a Garbodor. So he's going for a Combi. Seems okay to me, I suppose. I did see he had Mew in hand, but beyond that, I'm really not sure off the top of my head, so we'll see what Carl does here. Here he's just counting his Pokemon because, for you guys who are unaware, Vespiquen, its attack Be Revenged is 20 plus 10 more for every Pokemon in your discard pile. So that's why he's keeping track of his Pokemon down there, just to see how much damage he's doing. And I think he found his own counter stadium, so not too relevant now that Garb is out, but nevertheless, it could be annoying. So it looks like he's debating on playing his Parallel City. If he faces the blue side towards himself, he can potentially get rid of some useless Pokemon. So here he's going to get rid of the Unknown and Klefki, since their abilities are cut off. And here he's going to do Crashing Bolt to take a knockout on Shaman. Okay, and Ryan does have an Ultra Ball, so he can finally get a Mewtwo set up, hopefully. So what do you get rid of here? He promised to save Versus here because he's going to need to play a supporter this turn for sure. He's going to get Super Rod and Floatstone. Okay, so he is definitely eyeing down a Mewtwo EX here. Probably just checking to see what else is in his deck at this point. So he is going to have it. Okay, and I just saw another Trubbish as well, because I was going to say Ryan might be forced to actually hide behind this Garbodor to set up Mewtwo. And if that is the case, if he doesn't have another Trubbish, he could be in a tough spot. But luckily he does have another Trubbish in the deck. I'm not sure about Garbodor and Floatstone, but at least it looks like he might have the option to set up another Garbodor at some point. So he got Mewtwo and Spirit Link. He just needs an attachment. That's the big thing. And okay, so he has multiple double colorless energies. Here he's going to use Mewtwo's first attack, Energy Absorption. Let you attach an energy from your discard pile to Mewtwo. Okay, and so here Zebstrika is actually a pretty poor attacker since Mewtwo is not resistant to fighting. So Carl might have to finally set up a Vespiquen. And Vespiquen is hitting for a decent amount of damage. I couldn't see how much exactly. It might be hitting for maybe around maybe 100 at this point. It's hard to say. So he's going to play Buddy Buddy Rescue. Both players get to get a Pokemon from their discard pile and put it back in their hands. Okay, so yeah, Carl's definitely having a pretty strong turn coming back from that end of 4. He got some extra Pokemon in the discard pile, got his Vespiquen out, double Carlos energy. So he is definitely going to be able to two-shot this Mewtwo, I think. And okay, his hand is mainly just a bunch of Pokemon. So it looks like he's just going to Crash and Bolt for 50. That way he can kind of try to preserve his Vespiquen and make sure that it doesn't get knocked out. But here he plays Fairy Drop. It's that cool item card. It lets you remove 50 damage counters, or not 50 damage counters, but 50 damage from one of your Pokemon that has Fairy Energy attached to it. So it's pretty cool. It just helps Mewtwo tank hits a little bit better. So sometimes your opponent will be able to two-shot you, but if you time your Fairy Drops right, it'll turn those 2-hit knockouts into 3-hit knockouts. Okay, so Ryan's definitely going to go for his Mega Mewtwo, and here he's going to end. Probably doesn't want a Sycamore since he had that DCE in hand. Wants to kind of preserve that if possible, if I had to guess. So here, I think Mega Mewtwo will be safe for a turn. Carl does have a decent amount of Pokemon in the discard, but I don't think it's enough to do 210 to knock out this Mewtwo. So I think it's actually Ryan's first attack of the game. It's taken a while, but he is finally getting there. Oh, and his hand is pretty bad. Hopefully he can draw something good off his prize this turn or his card for turn next turn. But here he's going to Psychic Infinity to take a knockout. He draws Hoopa, I think it was, which is pretty much a dead card here since Garbodor's out. So he's going to be in top deck mode for a couple turns, it looks like. And Vespiquen's going to be putting on some pressure here, so he's not going to have too much time to draw out of this bad hand that he has. So let's see, yeah, like I said, Carl has a bunch of Pokemon in the discard pile. He'll definitely be two-shying this Mewtwo very comfortably. So he's going to play Special Charge. That's that item card. It lets you get 2 special energies from your discard pile and shuffle them into your deck. So I'm guessing Carl's probably going to Sycamore if he's just shuffling in the 1. Typically, you want to save it for once a couple hit the discard. But yep, so he's going to play Sycamore, discarding a Revitalizer and Vaporeon. And he drew into a ton of double colorless energy, so he's going to have no problem attacking for a couple turns. And let's see how many Pokemon he has in the discard pile now. He's put several more just from this turn alone. So again, I didn't think it was enough to knock out Mewtwo, but let's see how much it does here. 150, so yeah, this Mewtwo is definitely going down next turn. But luckily, Ryan did top deck another Mewtwo. And here he tried to Spirit Link with a Mega Turbo. So here, I don't really know what you do. I feel like you kind of just have to take a knockout almost. Yeah, and just hope that he doesn't have a way to power up another Vespiquen. But we saw he got Ultra Ball last turn, so he definitely will be able to. So he's going to Ultra Ball Shaman and Lysander, probably grab a Vespiquen if I had to guess. And he also has a Revitalizer in hand as well, so he will be able to get out another Vespiquen for the following turn too. And again, Ryan is just, his board state is just so fragile. He's really going to need to top deck into something. He was very fortunate to get the Mewtwo, but he really needs a supporter. Since, yeah, Carl is going to go down to only 2 prizes. So an N would be perfect here. And just an Ultra Ball. He will be able to get out a Mega, though. That is the plus side to all this. So here he's going to no doubtly discard Hoopa and then Parallel City. So definitely 2 really good things to discard. And I think that might be his last Mega that's in the deck. So if this thing goes down, it's game over anyways, but he won't have the luxury of setting up another Mega Mewtwo if this one gets damaged. And cycling between them, he won't be able to do that, it looks like. So here he's just going to retreat and Psychic Infinity for the knockout. And let's see what he does. Carl will be able to evolve into this other Vespiquen, because I believe he has one in hand. I think the biggest thing at this point is can he hit energy every turn? Because Mega Mewtwo is going to take 1-hit knockouts on Vespiquen, so Carl just needs to make sure that he can get a double colorless every turn to close out this game properly. And I guess he's just counting what's in his discard. He has an N. I'm not sure if he has Sycamore. I'm sure he would like that instead. Here's going to Sycamore his hand away. And, okay. So he did hit a Vespiquen. It was interesting. I think he actually discarded a Vespiquen as well. But here, okay, so he's just going to be revenge for the knockout. I guess that was enough Pokemon to finally close out the game. So Carl is going to take game 1 here. Ryan will have the option to choose who gets to go first in this game. No doubt, I'm sure he'll want to go first. But yeah, so he had definitely a really rocky start. I don't think he actually attacked until turn 4. If I'm not mistaken. And normally Mega Mewtwo is a pretty consistent deck. So, it was unfortunate too, though. His Hoopa was prized, so on the first Ultra Ball of the game, he might have been more inclined to go for Hoopa if it was in the deck, and he could have set up a lot more of his board. But it was prized, so I guess that's why he opted to go for the Trubbish and just kind of like chance drawing into a Mega Mewtwo. But Carl's deck worked pretty decently, pretty much how it's supposed to. Put a bunch of Pokemon in the discard pile and do a ton of damage. It's also interesting to note he won the game too without even using Klefki. Klefki is kind of a big card in this matchup, so he's got to be feeling pretty good about his chances at this point, I feel like. Okay, so he does start with a Combi, and Ryan is going to take a mulligan. And I couldn't see everything that was in Carl's hand, but I saw a couple double colorless energy, a Sycamore, a special charge. That will be maybe a rough Sycamore having to discard double colorless and special charge. But who knows? Maybe it'll work out. So if you're Ryan, maybe you change your strategy. Instead of prioritizing Trubbish, maybe just try to get Mewtwo's up and then build up your Garbodor behind Mewtwo's as you've started to take knockouts. So I don't know how that's going to go. Oh man, and he has to start with Hoopa this game too. So he is having some rough luck here. And here's just going to end. I'm sure Carl's actually probably okay with that. He more than likely did not want to discard double colorless and a special charge on the opening turn of the game. So again, if you're Ryan, you just you want a Mewtwo, Spirit Link Energy, Trubbish Floatstone supporter. Is that the dream hand right there? I'm sure that's what he's hoping for at least. So let's see what he gets here. Okay, so he does get some Ultra Balls, and he does have Sycamore for next turn, so he's actually in a decent spot, I think. He'll probably grab a Mewtwo EX, if I had to guess, since he has that double colorless in hand. So if I had to guess, he'll probably grab Mewtwo, attach double colorless energy, play Parallel City, and then just Sycamore on the next turn. Cool, so he's grabbing the Photon Wave Mewtwo. That's the one that, I believe it's 30 damage, and it reduces your opponent's damage on the next turn by 30? I think 20 or 30, something like that. I apologize if I'm not too up to date on what it does. I haven't played against the Photon Wave Mewtwo in a while. Here's going to Parallel City and then just pass. So Parallel City is actually really annoying because I believe that's Carl's only stadium that he plays. So he's going to be locked at 3 bench Pokemon the entire game, since I don't think he plays Delinquent in his list. I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing it when I played against him. So he's going to go for Klefki. And since Garbodor and Silent Lab aren't out, he actually might be able to make use of this Klefki this game. He's going to bench that, the Unknown, Acrobike, discarding Vespiquen, choosing to keep the Sycamore. And I'm guessing he's Ultra Balling since 3 cards hit the discard pile there. And what do you grab here? Looks like he's thinking about Vaporeon, so he's definitely just going to Sycamore if he's grabbing Vaporeon, just to start to get some Pokemon in the discard pile. Okay, and yeah, just a Sycamore. Okay, and his hand looks interesting. He has teammates. I'm not sure if he has another supporter for the following turn. Just because teammates only activates when your opponent takes a knockout. So I'm curious if he's actually going to be able to do anything next turn. Okay, so he has Acrobike, so he might be able to just draw out of this. Okay, a DCE or an Ultra Ball. He definitely wants to keep that DCE. And he has Unknown. He can use its ability to discard itself and draw a card potentially as well. And I'm not sure what else he can do. Okay, so he's going to Wonderlock this Combi just in case that Ryan pulls out like a Mega Mewtwo and a Floatstone. Okay, and here he is going to Farewell Letter first. So definitely a little bit risky leaving yourself with only one bench Pokemon there. But I think he's plenty safe since Mega Mewtwo is pretty much Ryan's only attacker, and the regular Mewtwo can't do enough damage to knock out a Combi. Okay, so Ryan's just going to end his turn with Mega Evolving. And back over to Carl's turn. He does have Vespiquen. Beyond that, I'm not sure what else though. He's gonna have to bench something just to make sure that he doesn't lose if Ryan does have a way to retreat. So he has an EV in hand, a couple Shaman. Um, but the problem is it's gonna be hard for him to play down his hand. So here's going to just Shaman for one, and that's gotta be frustrating. Maybe you just Sky Return. Oh, I don't think he has another double Kairos. My bad. So he's just going to promote EV and just kind of sacrifice it just in case Ryan does have a way to get out of the active spot here. And so Ryan does have an N and a Sycamore in hand, if I'm not mistaken. That's what it looks like from right here. He's got Sycamore. Yeah, he probably saw that Carl really didn't do much on his turn, so he definitely doesn't want to refresh his hand for him. And he drew into Trubbish and Floatstone as well, so that's kind of cool. He can get a little greedy and attach Floatstone to Hoopa. Or was that Floatstone? Maybe it's Mega Turbo that I saw. Yeah, I think that's what it was. So here's just going to end his turn by Mega Evolving yet again, which is kind of nice because he doesn't have to draw into these Spirit Links. He can just end his turn the normal way. Okay, he does have double Colorless Energy, so he can manually retreat this Hoopa and still take a knockout on this Eevee, which I think is going to be the right way to go. Okay, he's just going to Sycamore. He's probably digging for Floatstone Garbodor, but nothing yet. But luckily, Carl is not in a great spot, so even whiffing the Floatstone and Garbodor, I think he's still in a fine spot, since he can just Psychic Infinity for the knockout, and there's not nearly enough Pokemon in the discard pile to get a knockout on this Mewtwo. Okay, so I think that might be Carl's second Klefki. If he has one left in the deck, no doubt we're going to see him go for that to make this Vespiquen immune to Mega Mewtwo on the next turn. Okay, so I did see it in the deck, so no doubt he is going to get that guy out and make sure this Vespiquen is going to be immune to Megas. Beyond that, I don't know what he grabs. Maybe, well, he has Versus Seeker in hand, so he might be content just doing Teammates yet again. So maybe he grabs himself a Combee, potentially. He just has a lot of options here as far as what he wants to grab. Okay, so he's actually just going for double Klefki, and I mean, I'm not sure if Carl knows, but he doesn't have to reveal the Pokemon from Teammates. But I don't think it matters really, just because Ryan probably expects the Klefki. He's just going to play it down anyway, so not a big deal at all. Okay, here we're just going to see a Bee Revenge for 90 damage. And Ryan actually has Pokemon Center Lady, which could be a relevant card in this matchup. Since Vespiquen is largely going to have to two-shot you, if you time a Pokemon Center Lady correctly, you can turn those 2-hit knockouts into 3-hit knockouts. So here he's loading more energy on Mewtwo, so I'm guessing he's going for a Shaman knockout here, if I just had to guess. Yep, so he's going to Lysander Shaman. That way you can at least get some sort of knockout. And he's going to play Silent Lab. So just kind of limiting, or attempting to limit Carl's options here. But I think he does have Parallel City in hand anyway, so he can just bounce that Stadium and play down his Klefkis and Shamans and all that type of stuff. So he's going to Teammate yet again. He already has Klefki in hand. Probably gets an actual draw supporter for the following turn, if I just had to guess. I think he grabbed an Unknown, and it might have been a Versus Seeker. If that's the case, it looks like Carl's just content with just drawing any 2 cards out of your deck every turn. So I guess that's an okay play. I mean, you have Klefki, so your Vespiquen isn't going to go anywhere. So I guess that's just fine. So he's going to use Farewell Letter to draw a card. And he does draw into another Combee, so that's cool. And he was just counting how much damage he's doing. I think it's 110? Or 120? Yeah, it was enough to get a knockout on Mewtwo. So here we're going to Spirit Link. So he has Ultra Ball. He can evolve this other Mewtwo if he wants as well. He really needs Trainer's Mail. I think that's the card, or I'm sorry, Float Stone. That's what he's really digging for this turn, I think. So I think it's interesting he promoted the Trubbish. I'm curious why he just didn't go for the Mewtwo. Since Mewtwo... Oh, well, yeah. Vesqpiquen can't be hit by Megas, my bad, guys. I am having tons of brain farts in this series. So he's going to Mega Turbo and N. Okay, that seems good. He did see that Carl got 2 cards off Vespiquen. He only played the Klefki, so as far as Ryan knows, he has a card that he specifically wanted to save for the next turn. So I think ending in that situation is always good, and it puts Carl at a much lower hand size too. So ideally he wants Floatstone Garbodor this turn. I think those are going to be the big things here. I don't think he got it though, because he only drew 3 cards off that N. So unfortunately this Trubbish is going to be stuck for a turn, and so Ryan just has to pass. Luckily that does get another Klefki out of the way, and he can finally start taking some knockouts on these Vespiquen. So he's going to do a Farewell Letter again. And let's see what he has in hand. I think a Zoroark, Lysander, or Vitalizer. Okay, so he's just going to Sycamore all that away. Okay, and he does have a double Carlos for the turns. That's good. But beyond that, Carl's hand is not looking good at all. I think it was literally just a hand of Pokemon, like some Zebstrika stuff, a Combee, Eevee. So if he gets a Sycamore for the next turn, that would actually be a great hand to have. But right now it's not looking too good. One option he has, I was going to say he could Intelligence Gathering, but I think taking out Trubbish is going to be the better play because he probably wants Mew to come down at some point in this game and help take a knockout on Mewtwo. So here he's going to power up that benched Mewtwo and Vespiquen for N. So Carl actually may not mind that too much, even though he had like a pretty big hand. It wasn't anything too useful. So even though it's putting him at a lower hand size, he will at least have the chance to draw into maybe a Sycamore or a way to actually draw cards. Okay, and Ryan does draw into a better hand. He will have Sycamore for next turn, but here he's going to just do Psychic Infinity to knock out this Vespiquen, and hopefully Carl doesn't have a way to get out another Vespiquen and double Carlos energy. I think that's kind of his line of thinking. I'm going to knock out your only attacker and end you down to 3 cards to reduce your chances of having a way to respond. But I did see a Sycamore in Carl's hand, so he will definitely have a way to attack this turn. So let's see what he opts to do. I'm sure he does not want to get rid of that Vespiquen, but I feel like that's definitely the right play here. And he actually draws into Mew EX. Oh, but no double Carlos energy. That's unfortunate. So he is going to be able to shuffle in a double Carlos energy back into his deck. He doesn't have many cards left in there, so his odds of drawing them at this point are pretty decent. I think I do see an Acrobike, so I'm pretty sure we'll see a DC come down at some point. Oh no, he actually whiffs it from there too. Okay, so he is going to get down Vespiquen, Combee. Looks like he's debating on attaching a Floatstone just to lower his hand size. Mew. I think what Carl maybe should have done is, if he is going to bench Mew, he should have held on to the Floatstone. That way it could be attached to Mew, since Combee will get free retreat once it evolves. But luckily he does draw into a double Carlos energy here. The big question is, does he have enough Pokemon to take a knockout on Mega Mewtwo? And I can't see how many Pokemon are in his discard pile, but I would guess yes. He only needs, I believe it's 9 in there, and it definitely looks like a lot more than that. So Mew should be able to take a knockout here. He just has to hope that Ryan won't have a Mega Mewtwo of his own to respond with, because Mew only has 120 hit points. It gets knocked out pretty easily. So he's going to Sycamore, and does he get it? That's the big question here. Okay, so he does have Ultra Ball, so he will be able to get out Mega Mewtwo, assuming it's not prized. And there it is. So Ryan's going to take game 2. So game 3, we'll have to see who takes the series. And it's interesting, Ryan, this was actually the game where Klefki's came out into play and were walling against his Mega Mewtwo's. But yet this is the game that Ryan won. So it's kind of interesting how that worked out. Yeah, if you're, on paper, I really don't know who's favored here because both players have decent ways to respond to each other. Ryan has Silent Lab and Garbodor to shut off a lot of Carl's abilities that he uses to get set up. But then on the flip side, if Ryan doesn't get those out, he has things like Klefki to wall against Mega Mewtwo. He also has Mew EX to take easy knockouts on Mewtwo's and Hoopas. So they both have their own ways to kind of win a game here, but I don't know who is more preferred. It seems relatively even. These games have been pretty back and forth, which is a good thing. You never like to watch like a finals where it's just like an auto win versus an auto loss type of thing. Okay, it looks like Carl's opening hand is actually kind of decent. I saw he had some Pokemon in there and a Sycamore as well. So it looks like he's going to be in fine shape, especially since he is going to go first. I'm assuming since he lost the last game, he gets to decide who goes first. Okay, and Ryan actually has a pretty good hand too. I think he has a Hoopa and a Shaman in there, so he will be able to draw plenty of cards on his first turn, no doubt. So he's going to get down a Klefki. Oh, actually has a second Klefki as well. So I don't know if he wants to discard Mew or not, actually. He has Sycamore, but Mew can potentially be a really big card, especially since Ryan won't be able to get out Garbodor on the first turn. And I think he only plays one Silent Lab. So the odds of being able to use Mew on the next turn are actually pretty decent. Here he's actually just going to pass, I think favoring to hold on to the Vespiquen that he has in hand before he Sycamores. And it looks like he's debating on something here. Gonna play Hoopa. That seems good. That way he can grab himself a couple Mewtwo's. I think he already has Shaman in hand, so he might just want to stick with 2 Mewtwo's and call it a day there. Or if he doesn't plan on playing a supporter, maybe grabbing a Mega Mewtwo could also be a good option too. So it looks like he's definitely eyeing down a bunch of Mewtwo's. I don't think 3 is necessary at all, but I definitely like getting 1 or 2. Yep, that seems just fine to me. So that tells me he's probably going to Sycamore this turn, if that's the case. Okay, and he's going to use Setup, draw a couple more cards there. He does have Floatstone. You can maybe put that on Hoopa. And, it's unfortunate he had to discard another Mewtwo EX, a Garbodor, and a Mega Mewtwo. Okay, so he's going to Ultra Ball, probably grabbing himself a Trubbish. Since he sees that Mew on the bench, he sees those Klefkis, he kind of has to know that they're going to come up at some point if he does not get this Garbodor out to keep him in check. So I didn't see if Silent Lab was in his deck or not, but he definitely needs one of those 2 out on this turn. But here's just going to use Energy Absorption to power up that active Mewtwo a little bit better. So here I'd imagine we'll see Carl evolve it into a Vespiquen. He's going to use Parallel City on himself to discard his own Shaman. And, okay, so he's going to play Sycamore. A little risky, I think, discarding 2 Vespiquen and a Revitalizer, kind of rolling the dice that you're going to actually draw into a Vespiquen. And he does have Acrobike, so he still might be able to get one, but right now it's not looking too good. So he discards a Klefki to hold on to that Versus Seeker. Okay, so he has Buddy Buddy Rescue, so he will be able to get a Vespiquen out no matter what. And here Carl is in an interesting situation because I don't think... Okay, he does have DCE, so he will be able to attack. I don't know if he has enough Pokemon in his discard to actually knock out this Mewtwo with the Mew. Here's going to do Buddy Buddy Rescue, going for that Vespiquen. So we're probably going to see it evolve. And then where do you attach Klefkis to? That's the big thing here. Do you try to save some of them, or I think you almost just attach Klefki to each Pokemon. Just because if Garbodor comes out, they're going to be dead cards. So I kind of like that play. Just go ahead and Wonderlock both of the Klefkis, or use the Wonderlock on both Klefkis and attach them to both Pokemon in play. So yeah, it looks like Carl's really thinking hard here, trying to figure out what he should do. But again, I think that's the play. Unless he's just going to pass. Okay, so yeah, I definitely like doing that. Oh, and here's actually going to Sky Return for 60, so that's a cool play he can do. That way he can preserve this Mew and the Klefki. So definitely a cool move, since for you guys who are unaware, Mew EX has an ability called Versatile, where you can use the attacks of any Pokemon in play. You just have to have the right energy to do it. So he copied Ryan's Shaman Sky Return attack to use it. Okay, so here Ryan is going to get Mega Mewtwo down. Unfortunately, he can't take a knockout since this Klefki is attached to Vespiquen, but nevertheless, I'm sure he's happy to be able to start setting up his board. And he gets Silent Lab off Trainer's Mail. I think that's what he needs to grab here. Unless he has a way to get Garbodor out. So that's interesting. Okay, that to me kind of tells me he plans on having a way to get Garbodor out then. Okay, he has Sycamore in hand. Or Vespiquen, I should say, so that will get him Sycamore. So he really just needs to draw into a Floatstone here. Okay, and cool, he does actually get the Floatstone, so that means Mew won't be able to actually attack anymore, as long as the Floatstone is on Garbodor. Okay, so definitely a good turn. Even though Ryan did not do any damage or take any knockouts or anything, he definitely had a strong turn, getting up the Pokemon that kind of really hurts a lot of Carl's techs that work good against this deck. And I'm not sure what else he can do. Oh, he's debating on retreating. So it looks like he's a little scared of that Vespiquen. So he's just going to promote Hoopa since it has free retreat anyways. So I'd imagine we'll see double Carlos come down onto Vespiquen. And then a Sycamore, just to discard all of those extra Pokemon. He does have Special Charge in there. He might not want to discard that because I think he's already discarded one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you can definitely see Carl's very conflicted about what to do. But yeah, attaching double Carlos and just going to Sycamore. Okay, and he does draw Ultra Ball, so he will be able to get out another Pokemon to ensure that he doesn't just lose next turn. So he's going to discard Shaman. And I couldn't see what the other card was, but I would imagine we'll see a Combee hit the board here. Yep, seems good. So more than likely this Vespiquen's going to go down on the next turn, so Carl definitely wants to start setting up another Vespiquen if he's able to. Because Mewtwo doesn't need very much energy to take knockout, so it's going to be very easy for Ryan to respond anytime Vespiquen takes a knockout here. And I can't tell how much damage. Oh, so I think Carl just did Intelligence Gathering. It only did 10 damage. But it allows him to draw until he has 6 cards in hand. So here Ryan's going to Ultra Ball, discarding a Garbodor and N. Probably grab a Mega Mewtwo just to get another one up and running. And at this point, if you're Ryan, I think you're actually feeling pretty good about your chances. Your board is just like super set up at this point. And he's going to Center Lady off that damaged Mega Mewtwo. And he's going to Psychic Infinity for the knockout. And he still has Vespiquen left over for next turn as well. So, I mean, I think Ryan's board position is just way too strong right now. Luckily, Carl does have teammates, so he will be able to stay in this game a little bit more. He'll be able to grab himself a Vespiquen. I think he has a double Colorless in hand, if I saw correctly last turn. So probably just a Vespiquen and a Combee. or maybe a Revitalizer. Just depends. Or maybe he might draw or get something, maybe like an Ultra Ball to discard some Pokemon from his hand too. Okay, but it looks like he is eyeing down the Revitalizer and Vespiquen, which I think that's a fine play since he has double Colorless in hand already, I think. Okay, so we will definitely see this active evolve. Yep, double Colorless in hand, so we will be able to attach that for sure. Gonna bench Zorua as well. Zoroark actually could be a decent attacker here. Carl has yet to use him, but Zoroark does 10 plus 30 for every bench Pokemon your opponent has. So that definitely could be a decent backup attacker if he gets in a pinch. Okay, so he's going to do 130. And let's see. He can Center Lady, but I think he might just want to just Sycamore and then just retreat this Mega Mewtwo. He probably doesn't want to get rid of that. Okay, so he doesn't want to get Reverse Seeker, so he's just going to end here. Just choosing to conserve his resources a little bit. And Ryan's only taken one prize, so it's not like he's going down to a really low hand size or anything. It's just 5 cards. So let's see. Looks like Carl has a pretty decently workable hand from what I could tell. And then Ryan's hand is fine too. But here's going to take a knockout with the active. It's a little curious, I think. Because more than likely, Carl will be able to return KO him. He might be worried about sending up a fresh one and Carl having enough Pokemon to take a knockout with it. Or like enough Pokemon to discard take a knockout with Vespiquen. So definitely an interesting play, I think, leaving the Mewtwo active. I think you just retreat and try to make it harder for your opponent to take a knockout. So there he is going to go for the Zoroark, and it will be able to finish off this Mega Mewtwo. He's also going to Special Charge, putting those double Carlos energies back into the deck, so I'm sure he's happy about that. That way he'll be able to keep attacking the rest of the game, hopefully. And I'm not sure what else is in Carl's hand. He only has 3 cards, so hopefully he has a supporter for the following turn. Okay, so he does have Sycamore, that's good. He will be able to refill his hand. Okay, so he's going to Ultra Ball, getting rid of Klefki, I'd imagine, since Garbodor is out. So getting rid of Eevee and Klefki. So yeah, Carl's discard has grown a ton this turn. So maybe he would have been able to knock out that fresh Mega Mewtwo. Hard to say. So even though he's been playing like a little bit of a scrappy game, he's kind of like struggling, I think, to hang on a little bit in a way since all of his abilities have been shut off, but he's been keeping up pretty well even despite not having access to Shamans and his Klefkis and Unknowns and all that type of stuff. Oh, and here he passed? Did he not have double Carlos to attack with? Oh no, he didn't. Ooh, that is rough. So now he's in an interesting spot because Mega Mewtwo can't knock out this Zoroark in one hit. Right now he's only doing, I believe it's 70 or 50, I think, actually, after resistance, because Zoroark is resistant to Mega Mewtwo. So here looks like he's going to retreat, putting up the fresh one, and he has 2 Mega Turbos, so he will be able to power up this Mewtwo enough to take a knockout, I think. Oh, okay, never mind. So he's going for powering up the benched one again. I think that's interesting. Because, yeah, he would have... Okay, and here I think he just realized what he did. Because he would have had enough energy to knock out this Zoroark if he had done that. Yeah, I think that's what it was here. I think he actually did realize he kind of goofed up. He can still attack for 50. It's not the end of the world, but I'm sure he would have loved to have attacked for more than that. Okay, so here Carl's going to bring up Shaman and just pass. So no draws Porter, no double Carlos energy. So he is stalled out a little bit for sure. Luckily, Ryan kind of misplayed on his last turn as well. Looks like they're discussing something with the judge, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if time was called or something. I'm not sure here. So, yeah, I'm really not sure what was being discussed here. I don't know if an illegal play happened that I didn't catch. Oh, and I guess that was... Yeah, I'm guessing that was the last turn of time. More than likely time got called, and in a Pokemon tournament, once time gets called, there's basically just 3 turns after that, and Top Cut in Game 3 here, whoever is ahead on prize cards at the end of Game 3, I believe, wins the series. So, or wins that game, and since this is Game 3, whoever won those 2 games won the series. So it looks like Ryan is actually going to be our victor here. He's going to take the whole League Cup with his Mega Mewtwo Fairy deck. No doubt he's very excited about that. And like I said, if you guys haven't seen the top 4 match that we featured him in, I'll be sure to put a link for you guys to check it out too. But yeah, as usual, feel free to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out our merch over at rarecandytcg.com. If you can pick up something to help support the channel, it'd mean a lot to us. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.